How your favorite TV shows ended, The Secret World of Alex Mack. And this was a two-part episode that came out in 1998. Now, it's probably been a minute since the last time you saw this show, so let me just quickly run down the characters. This is Alex. She was a regular teenager until a truck almost hit her, but instead ended up covering her in chemical. And it was GC-161, which is going to be very important to this episode. Now she has superpowers. She can liquefy herself, and she can shoot electricity through her fingers, and she can also move things with her mind. She has her family. That's her mom and dad at the top. They don't know she has superpowers at this point. Her dad actually works at the chemical company that spilled the chemical and gave Alex her powers. That's her sister Annie, who usually helps Alex when she gets into problems, but she really doesn't show up in this episode as she's gone off to college. On the far right, you have her best friend Ray, who's been there for Alex since the very beginning, helping her out. This is her other friend Lewis, but he's more of a spineless, loudmouth type of character who's not always there for her. And this is Miss Atron, who's the CEO of Paradise Valley Chemical Company, and she's hunting the kid who got covered in the chemicals. We start off the episode with Alex having nightmares, as she's dreaming that everybody knows she has superpowers and resents her and thinks she's a freak. It's just a dream. Or is it? Now we cut to Miss Atron, who's in the process of releasing GC-161, the thing that gave Alex her powers, to the public. She's marketing it as a weight loss cure, and even though she knows there's side effects like giving you superpowers and it would cause chaos, she doesn't care, because by the time it's released, she's going to have $1 billion and she's just going to run away and walk away from this whole thing. That's when we cut to Alex and Ray hanging out in the park, as she says she's kind of tired because she's having these nightmares. She then realizes she's late to a study session with one of her other friends and decides that she's going to morph to liquid form to get there faster. And just as she's beginning to morph, that's when Lewis jumps in, and he was going to wet him with a super soaker, and she catches Alex in the middle of morphing, and there's no way to hide it. At first, Lewis is pretty freaked out. He's never seen anything like this. And Alex and Ray decide to explain the whole story of how it all happened to Lewis. And Lewis promises he's not going to tell anybody. We then cut to Alex's dad confronting Miss Atron, telling her that he knows the side effects from GC-161, and it's not safe to release. Miss Atron pretty much brushes this whole thing off, and she fires him. Then move to Dave, who was the driver who was driving the truck that had the chemicals that were spilled on Alex. He works for Miss Atron, but he's not a bad guy. He doesn't like this entire thing. He feels that this is wrong. But they tell him that the FDA did pass GC-161, so there's nothing that he can do. Remember when I told you that Lewis had a big mouth? So Lewis calls Ray up on the cell phone and tells him why he didn't tell him that there was a kid that had superpowers. Now, Ray recognizes the situation immediately and says this phone could be tapped, and it most certainly was. The chemical company was listening the whole time. Now, Dave puts on a fake mustache and goes to the police, hopefully to tell them that GC-161 that's being released by the chemical company is not safe, and the whole FDA thing is a bunch of BS. And they really don't believe him, but they are starting to get suspicious. Now, because Lewis has such a big mouth, he gets abducted by the security team of the chemical company. It really doesn't take much for him to talk, because he releases Alex's name right away. Now we cut to Alex hanging out with Hunter in her house. Hunter is Alex's love interest at this point, and he hates Miss Atron and the chemical company for what they did to his dad. Now Hunter tells Alex to tell her parents about her powers, because they can help her, but she doesn't want to, because she promised Annie that they wouldn't do that. That's when Alex's house gets bombarded by security from the chemical company. They know it's Alex, and they're out to get her. She gets away for a little bit as she liquefies, turning her and Hunter into liquid, and they get away. Then they get surrounded once more, and the security team came with a vacuum, and when Alex turned into liquid, they sucked her up. They came prepared, but they leave Hunter behind. Now we cut to a scene where the cops interrogate one of the guys who helped pass GC-161 by the FDA. They basically say that he has to take a lie detector test to prove that everything's good, which of course it's not, because they falsely put it through the FDA and it shouldn't have been passed. We then cut to a scene where Hunter and Ray look on as Alex's parents get taken away by the security company too. And they decide they need to help Alex somehow. They just don't know how yet. With her captured, they put her into a big container where her powers are useless. They can't help her get out at all. And that's when Miss Atron finally confronts Alex. Miss Atron says that all this could have been avoided if she had told her parents. Now they're going to do tests on her, and they're going to get rid of her. Where we last left Alex, she was captured by Miss Atron and the Paradise Valley Chemical Company. And Miss Atron is telling Alex that she waited a long time for this moment. And she tells Alex basically if she would have told her parents, Miss Atron would have been stopped a long time ago. Now she had also captured Alex's parents, and so they bring them in, and Dave is all the while hiding in the bushes recording the whole thing to provide to police. Now Ray, Hunter, and Lewis want to help Alex, and what they ultimately decide is Ray and Hunter should go break out Alex while Lewis goes and tells the public about what's going on. Now we cut back to Alex being captured with her parents, and this is the point where Alex decides to reveal everything to them and let them know that she was the kid that was in that accident and was the one that was covered in the GC-161 chemical. And she shows them her powers and she proves it. Now her parents are super disappointed and upset at her because how could she hold a secret from them for so long that was so important? And they kind of have a point. Again, her dad repeats that if they would have known that Alex was the one that was being hunted, they could have stopped Miss Atron a long time ago. Now we cut to the guy who helped pass GC-161 through the FDA and his lie detector test, which of course he fails because it was totally shady and should never have been passed. We then cut to Ray and Hunter breaking into the chemical company, which is surprisingly easy. They just go through the vents, and while they're in the vents, they hear Miss Atron talk about how she's gonna get away and she's gonna blow up all the evidence, which includes the Mack family. Yeah, she's gonna straight up unalive them. We then see Lars start putting explosives all over the chemical company, and he puts one especially right next to Alex and her parents. We then cut to Ray, who just breaks into where Alex and her parents were being held just through the vents. Not sure why her parents didn't see those vents the whole time. So Ray breaks in where they were being held, breaks a pipe, then shatters where Alex was being held. What a badass. He gets a little cocky as he tries to take on the security, but he gets captured. What he does do is serve as a distraction for Alex and her parents to liquefy and run away. They pick up Hunter along the way in the vents. Now Miss Atron is in the middle of escaping, and she finds that Ray has been captured, and she says get rid of him. So Lars takes Ray into a room, chains him to the desk, locks the door, and leaves an explosive there with him. That guy's ruthless. He's willing to unalive a kid. Cut to the cops, who are now ready to take on Paradise Valley Chemical Company now that they have evidence from Dave. Alex, Hunter, and her parents are outside. They escaped successfully, but they realize they left Ray behind. And Alex has to go back to get him, because that's her best friend. So she turns back into liquid and goes back into the building to find Ray. And she finds him pretty quickly, and it's a good thing she does, because the whole building starts to go up with all the bombs that were placed. As the whole building starts to go up in flames, Miss Atron walks away like a total badass. But just as she does, Hunter basically mugs her and stops her from escaping. In the end, Alex and Ray do get out in time, and everything is okay. The police get there just in time to capture Miss Atron and start to arrest her. Oh, and Lars too, he's a pretty bad dude. We then have a moment with Alex and Dave where Alex thanks Dave for helping her, and also for not revealing her identity because he knew it was her the whole time. We then cut to a scene where Alex is talking to her dad, and her dad basically says that he understands why she didn't tell him, and that they're good now. But he does reveal that he does have the antidote for GC-161, and it's up to Alex whether she wants to take it or not. We then cut to a scene where Annie comes back, and she was rushing home after she heard what had happened to Alex, and she's glad Alex is okay. They go for a walk, and they talk about everything that's been going on, but they also discuss how they've grown since when they first discovered that Alex got superpowers. They then cut to a final scene at sunset, where Alex takes out the cure for GC-161, and we don't really find out if she takes the cure. All we're left with is a small smile from Alex, not knowing what happened. That's it. That's the finale for The Secret World of Alex Mack. Now, did she take the cure? I guess it's up to the viewer to decide that one. If you ask me, no way she did. And I'd probably give this 8.5 out of 10. But let me know, what did you think of this finale? Did Alex take the cure? Also, let me know what other shows I should do next, and make sure to follow for more.